In this video, we will be discussing how to input a univariate data set into a calculator to find statistical measures. You will be expected to apply your knowledge moving forward, so please pause and replay the video as needed. So first, I would like to begin by discussing what univariate data is. And remember, the prefix uni usually means one. So in this case, it's talking about a data set that's made up of one variable. So an example of one variable or univariate data would be if somebody were to ask the question, how long does it take for you to get to school? So this would be a set of univariate data with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 data points. So your sample size here would be 9. So it's as if the person had asked 9 people this question and they got 9 numbers as a result. That's different than what we call bivariate data, which is where your data actually depends on more than one number. So for example, if you were collecting data about a plant and its growth over a year, you notice how in this table you have two different variables. So it's bivariate data, and it's talking about, okay, at month 2, the plant was 12 inches tall. At month 4, the plant was 25 inches tall, right? So that's comparing two different numbers in a single moment in time. So today we're only going to be talking about univariate data, which is where we can find the mean, median, and mode. Some other important statistical vocabulary that you might need to know for this video is mean, which is the average of a set of data. And in this case, today, when we look at the calculator, it's going to be referred as X bar. So that's the symbol that means mean in your calculator. Median is the middle value after you line them up from least to greatest. So that's where you cross off on either side until you find the value that's in the middle. A sample size is how many data values are in your set. So basically, how many people were asked that question, or how many data values do you have? In your calculator, that's referred to as N. So N is your sample size. And then finally, the minimum and maximum. So the minimum is your smallest or least data value. So the number that is the least when you line them up from least to greatest. And the maximum is the largest data value. So the one that is when you line them up from least to greatest all the way at the end on the right. Just to make sure that all of our calculators are set to do what we need to and we're all on the same page, let's reset our calculators to avoid any issues that we may have. So please follow these steps. First, you're going to push the second button, then the plus symbol where you see mem right above it. You're going to push 7 to reset, and then you can just say you're resetting the all RAM function and push 2 for reset. And once you're done and you've done it right, you should see RAM cleared on your calculator. So now we're going to learn how to put a list of univariate data into your calculator. And this is where you're going to need to know the stat key. So we're talking about statistical measures in this video, so you're going to need to know that the stat key is 2 away from the alpha key, or that green key. So push that stat button right now, and I'm going to do that on my calculator as well. Hold on a second. Let's just get my calculator up. So I'm going to push the stat key, and it should bring you to this edit screen. And we're going to want to select edit because we are editing the data values, or we are entering them. So right now you're going to push enter on edit, and it's going to bring you to list 1. So now that we're at our list, we're going to enter the data values here. So we're going to enter 1, and after each entry you have to push enter. So 1 enter, 2 enter, 3 enter, 4 enter, 5 enter, 6 enter, and then the last one is 34 enter. And you'll notice that here on our screen, this says in parentheses L1, and in parentheses it says 8. But right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data values. The reason this says 8 is because it's in the 8th empty space. If I scroll up one, now I am on the last data value and it says that it is the 7th data value. Okay, you always want to check that to make sure that you didn't miss any when you're entering data. So you want to count up how many data values you have and then make sure that when your cursor or your scrolling is on that last one, this number in the parentheses matches. So that's how you enter data. So how do I enter a univariate data set into my calculator? I go to Stat and I go to Edit and I put them all in there. And I want to make sure I have the right amount in there. So now that I have all of my data values in there, I'm going to actually be able to find the average and the median and a bunch of other topics or vocabulary that we want. So I'm going to go back to the stat key. And once you go back to the stat key, instead of being underneath edit, you want to scroll over using those arrows and go to calculate. So we're going to calculate one variable statistics. So the one vars stat is where we're going to be going. All right, so make sure that you go to calculate after you hit stat. So that's all the way at the top. You want to scroll over and then you want to hit one var stat and push enter. Once you hit one var stat, it will bring you to a screen like this. It's telling you that your list of data values are in L1, which if we remember and we go back, L1 was where we put our data in. And we're going to calculate. You want to scroll down so that calculate is blinking and you want to push enter on calculate. Once you push enter on calculate, here are the one variable statistics that you should see. This screen is the one you're going to see first, and then if you hit the down arrow and you scroll down, you're going to see the rest of them. So these are kind of like two different screens that you can see under one variable statistics. And this is where we're going to get a lot of information about our data values. First of all, you might recognize some of them from the vocabulary that we talked about at the beginning. So I just want to talk about the ones that are important to us right now. X bar, we said, was our average or our mean. So 7.857 blah, 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 blah is our mean or our average. So X bar is our average. N is our number of data values or our sample size. So 7 people were in this statistical study. So that tells us how many data values we entered. The minimum is our smallest data value. So 1 was our smallest data value. Our maximum is our largest data value. So the biggest one was 34. And the median would be 4. Now, doing this in your calculator is really nice because you don't have to do the sum of all your data values and then divide. Although, in case you were wondering what some of the other symbols are, this one right here is actually the sum of all your data values. So if you add up all of the data we put in, you would get 55. Another important one that we're going to talk about later on in this unit are Q1 and Q3. Those relate to the interquartile range that we will talk about later on. But it's also nice that your calculator can find the median because you don't have to put the data values in order. The data values do not need to be in order in your list in order to find the median. The only thing your calculator can't do that we've talked about so far is find the mode. Good thing is if you look at a data set, it's not too much work to find the mode. You just have to look for the most frequent. So now if you wanted to clear out your calculator so that you could do another question or do another statistical study, you want to go back to the stat key and you want to go back to edit because remember, edit is where you find all of the data values. So if I go back, I'm in stat and I'm in edit. And you can actually just scroll all the way up to the first data point. So take your arrow and scroll all the way up to the first data point. And you can just push enter delete, this delete key right here, multiple times and you'll watch them disappear. Now, if you're on your actual calculator and not on an app, you can do it a faster way. There's a shortcut, but it only works on the calculator. You can actually scroll up to L1, push clear, and then push enter, and the entire data set will go out all at once. So again, that was scroll all the way up to where it says L1 highlighted at the top, push clear, and then push enter. But again, that only works for the actual calculator. If you're on your phone on TI-84, the app, you can just scroll all the way up to the top data value. So again, if I enter data values in 7, 8, 9, and then I want to get them out, I scroll up to the first data value and I push delete multiple times until they're all gone. So now that you've cleared your calculator from all of the lists that were in there, why don't you give this one a try? You want to find the mean, sample size, minimum, median, and maximum of the number of snowboarding accidents reported weekly on one winter season at the Fun Mountain Resort. Pause and check back in to see how you did. So now that I've put in all of my data values, you want to make sure once you go to Stat and you go to Edit to put in your data values, that when you go down to the bottom, your last data value says that it's number 15 because there were 15. And remember, you always want to count. It's very easy to miss one. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I know I got them all. So now that I have all my data values, remember to get to the actual statistical measures, you want to push the Stat key. You want to scroll over to Calculate, and you want to calculate the one var stats or the one variable statistics. So I'm going to push enter. My data is in list 1. I'm going to scroll down to calculate, push enter. So this time my mean or my average should be about 11.6 repeating. The next thing it asked for was my sample size. My sample size is 15 because I have 15 data values. The minimum, if I scroll down, the minimum is 6. The median, so the smallest data value is 6. The median is 12, so the one in the middle is 12. And then my maximum value for this data set is 18. All right, so maximum 18, median 12, minimum 6. Scrolling back up, sample size was 15, and then all the way up. X bar, remember, is your average, and that is 11.6 repeating. In this video, we discussed how to input univariate data into the calculator and find a statistical measures. So you will be expected to apply your knowledge moving forward. Please replay the video if you need further clarification.